Hello, in this video we are going to talk about Moloch and what he demands of his devotees. In a way, what he demands of people who work with him heavily. What is the thing he asks of them? Moloch demands you one of the following things. There are two ways and two paths governed by Molech or Moloch. One is the path of the prophet and another is the path of the king. Those two paths are related and intertwined, but they are specific in their own ways. If you want to focus on spiritual insight and prophecy and empowerment, then the path of the prophet is for you. If you want to focus on obtainment of material wealth, power, prestige, and political influence, then path of the king is for you. Molech will give you both of those things, but he will kind of approach you differently if you choose path of the prophets than if you choose the path of the king. If you choose path of the king, he will kind of teach you more spells which manifest your reality and improve your life, while when you choose path of the prophet, he will give you more spells which increase your psychic abilities and powers. Now, how you should work with Moloch is dependent on you, but Moloch is really God, which demands iron will discipline. He is willing to give the mysteries of Tanael, the deepest of cliphotic hells, to everybody who is willing. But he definitely teaches some mysteries and rites which are sinister in the eyes of the uninitiated. So it is advisory for the students of all of Moloch's arts to keep majority of his work secret. Now, once you receive the secret rites of Moloch, you should really try as much as you can to work with him on a daily basis, because he is really demanding and really harsh if you don't do your part of the deal. He is much harsher than majority of divinities I worked with. His presence is also much more terrifying and much more demanding to withstand than presence of other cliphotic gods. Out of all cliphotic divinities, he seems to be the most intense spirit in the entire caliphate, for me personally. He seems to come in the strongest manner, and he seems to give the greatest amount of gnosis. He seems to be pretty straightforward in regarding to what he wants and what is his agenda. Technically, he wants expansion of his personal influence in all directions. He wants his old cult reinstated, his old glory reclaimed, and his name revered once again. That's his agenda from my understanding. He simply wants to be a dominating spirit of our age, more than any other cliphotic divinity. He really has that lust for power and domination within him, and he will also inspire that lust for power and domination in his devotees and in people who work with him. Now, one other thing which is interesting in working with Moloch is that if you work with Moloch deeply, you will kinda tap into some pretty predatory rites. So working with Moloch isn't for the faint of heart. This video will mostly focus on theoretical aspects of work with Moloch, and I will make a compilation of all of the videos I made about Moloch, which will be really good guide for work with the king. But what he is telling me over and over again during my work with him is that even the most destructive and decadent rites in the eyes of the profane have higher meaning in the eyes of the gods. And as long as your rite is, at the end of the day, beneficial for you and the universe, it doesn't matter what the profane and uninitiated think. You, as a sorcerer, are not obligated to apologize to the public for the nature of your rights, nor for the nature of your choices. If you tap truly into the mysteries of Moloch, you will be given things which will be controversial, but definitely beneficial for the universe. Moloch will teach you, and the main lesson he has to give is that there is nothing shameful in the lust for power and the lust for knowledge. There is nothing shameful in desire to rule and command, and there is nothing shameful in desire to know. If that desire is truly expressed and tapped into, it can lead initiate to perform many acts which are not welcomed by sorcerers who didn't tap as deeply into his mysteries, or people who do not practice magic. But sorcerer should tap into those transgressive acts, because those transgressive acts will transform the mind of the sorcerer and give him the power to heal and destroy. When I say transgressive acts, I definitely don't refer to the disgusting rites of human sacrifice of innocent people and pedophilia. I think those two things are really unforgivable and we shouldn't practice them. But there are also many other controversial things we can do as magicians while studying the rites of Molech, which will be definitely unwelcomed to majority of black magical practitioners in modern black magical subculture, as well as society as a whole. So one of the main rules in work with Molech is that you should really be prepared for some terrifying stuff, and you should also really be willing to shut the fuck up. Actually, Molech will command you to shut the fuck up. But if he doesn't command you to shut the fuck up about your practices, then you should shut the fuck up regardless. Because Molech is the god who will teach you the kinds of things which are really beyond human comprehension and understanding. Now, another thing we have to keep in mind while working with Molech is that we shouldn't overflow him with offerings. Molech is a Saturnian divinity, and Saturnian divinities, if overflown with offerings, can become really painful, and they can fuck you up and fuck you over. So really powerful way to kill yourself is to give too much to Molech, because then his bestial power will grow and he will literally devour the initiate. Now, there is also, when we talk about devouring, some other things Moloch wants you all to know. He demands of his stronger sorcerers and devotees to create some kind of a permanent link with him, which is an astral cord which connects him and his initiates. This is something he wants all of the serious practitioners of his mysteries to do, if possible. And this is the thing he considers extremely important in development of his relationship with the people he is working with. Another thing regarding Molech is the following. He is the god of warriorhood, so accept and expect that a lot of people will come and challenge you in your life, and they will come and challenge your dominion when you start working with Molech. And that's simply the nature of the working with this divinity. Another thing you should keep in mind is that Molech is really kinda interesting if you truly dedicate to him. He doesn't stand a lot of other spirits around you. Uh, he doesn't stand a lot of other spirits taking his space. So, if you wanna work with Moloch seriously, alongside with other spirits, you need to kinda be ready to invest a lot of time in him and not neglect him. Because if you dedicate to him and then neglect him as your patron and go to other spirits without calling him at all, then he can be angry, and I don't want to be in your skin when Moloch is angered, because he can be really benevolent protector and giver, but he is also really predatory. As also, Moloch is one of the kings of exorcisms. He is really good for exorcisms and destroying negative spirits and entities. He did and made a better result than majority of the spirits I mentioned in my practice. Also, the thing I have to point out is that Moloch is definitely a divinity which transcends what is said about him in Judeo-Christian scripture, and we should really tap into him from the more older Canaanite perspective. We should really tap into Canaanite culture, Ugaritic culture, and temporary Bronze Age to find out that who Moloch was and who Moloch is not what is presented to us in a modern literary works, which are not, how can I say this, which are not written by his devotees nor his followers. They are written by his enemies. And what I can say is that human sacrifice was, according to archaeological evidence, practiced in the entire world during the Bronze Age, when the cult of Moloch flourished. And really, demonization of Moloch because of the human sacrifice is simply religious hypocrisy, because at the time when Moloch received human sacrifice, biblical God received it too. People did it all the time in the Bronze Age. In the Iron Age, however, human sacrifice started to fade, especially when the Roman and Hellenic culture took the dominant role in European and Middle Eastern religions. You need to know that if you are judging Moloch for the human sacrifice, you are judging all of the deities of the Bronze Age, because all of the deities of the Bronze Age accepted human sacrifice in one way or the other. It was a norm back then. So, really, Moloch can give you many things. He is demanding, he is powerful, but he can also protect you, give you wealth, insight, dominance, power, knowledge, political influence, wisdom, domination, masculinity, warriorhood, many things. And we shouldn't really judge him for the something all of the gods of certain historical era are guilty of. There is historical evidence for human sacrifice dedicated to following deities in the Bronze Age. Wotan of the Norse, Athena of the Greeks, Chthonic deities of the Greek pantheon, Gallic divinities, Iberian divinities, some forms of Egyptian worship, Scythian divinities. Almost every culture in the Bronze Age practiced human sacrifice. It was a staple of the human religion at the time of the Bronze Age when the cult of Moloch flourished. So, do not be so dumb to judge divinity of the Bronze Age for being divinity of the Bronze Age. If people in the Bronze Age practiced human sacrifice, you don't have to practice it today. We shouldn't judge ancient divinities from being ancient divinities. We should try to use them in a modern context to benefit our spiritual evolution. And we should try to use the aspects of the modern mysteries and aspects of the ancient mysteries dedicated to that divinity to benefit us. Thank you for watching.